If you lost your job today, how long would it take you to land the next one? Today, I'm showing you how to layoff proof your career using LinkedIn, even if you're not actively job searching. If you are actively job searching, if you've already lost your job, you're in the right place. But if you haven't lost your job yet, you're also in the right place. I'm Wendy Taylor. I've been on this place called LinkedIn for 21 years, and I've been helping people navigate it for all that time. And I'm here to help you layoff proof your LinkedIn profile. Now, for the last few years, the job market's been wonky and the layoffs have been happening fast, often without warning. And yes, recruiters use LinkedIn. And I've spent a lot of years where I was training recruiters to use LinkedIn to find hard to find talent. But way more important than the recruiters, your network is on LinkedIn. So if the recruiters are on LinkedIn, and more importantly, your network is on LinkedIn, and applying online feels like diving into a black hole, let's change how we're thinking about things. We're not job hopping anymore. We're opportunity building. And LinkedIn is where you can create your next opportunity. Today's game plan. We're going to talk about some of the biggest profile mistakes that are costing you time in your job search, and time is money. We're going to talk about how to fix them fast. We're going to talk about a strategy that works even if you're not looking yet. In fact, that's the ideal situation. So if you hopped on here, you're like, wait a minute, I'm not job hunting. I don't need the job search coach lady. Yeah, actually you do. This is about building a brand and connections. A brand and connections that will open doors even in rocky job markets. Let's try that again. Even in rocky job markets like the last 3 years, we're building a security system, not just a profile. Now, if you've been job hunting, you probably feel like the job search is broken. The old job search versus the new reality. The old way, apply to 100 jobs, get some interviews, get a job offer, everything's fine. I'm suggesting you use LinkedIn to build your brand and your network. I'm not saying that you're not going to apply for jobs. What I'm saying is applying for jobs alone is, in most cases, not going to get you there, and certainly not going to get you there that fast. There's other things that you need to be doing to get the right job for you in your career and your life. Using LinkedIn to build your brand and network is the first step there. So if you're doing the applying for jobs thing, obviously then you're just waiting for weeks to hear back from people. My way, you're in charge of the conversation. That's why we call it taking charge around here. The people who are completely focused solely on job applications, they experience a thing called ghosted on a regular basis. My way, you book interviews faster. If you're done with endless applications and ghosting, drop me a ghost in the comments or send me a DM and I'm so over the ghosting, Wendy. LinkedIn lets you flip the script and take charge. Let's make it work for you. So we're going to start with the headline. And frankly, when I do done with you LinkedIn profile upgrades, it's actually the last thing we do because it's so important. Most people have very generic, weak headlines. It's very tied to the current job, doesn't say much, doesn't really convey much. And they're not thinking about the fact that every time you do anything on LinkedIn, the first 2 words are the ones that people see. They have to click to see any more. So you want to be really thoughtful about what those first 2 words are. Go look at my LinkedIn profile. linkedin.com/in/Wendy Taylor. First two words, ADHD coach. I can't go anywhere in Nashville without someone walking up to me and saying, "You're the ADHD coach." I have to tell you that no other two words I have ever had under my name have that kind of impact. Now, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm using LinkedIn for a different purpose than you all are. However, they have more in common than you think. Really, LinkedIn isn't just a landing page for solopreneurs. It really is a landing page for your career. And we want to be really thoughtful about what the first two words are and the rest of the words are in your headline. So they need to be focused on, if you're currently employed, a mix of current role and future role. And if you've ever heard me talk about the superpower cocktail, and if you haven't, drop cocktail in the comments or send me a DM, because you need to watch that. But the superpower cocktail talks about the fact that everyone thinks that what qualifies you for a job is your experience in a role and your experience in an industry, the gin and the vermouth in my gin martini. And I say there are other things, personality traits, passions and interests, and family experiences that shape your attractiveness for a role. So, one of my clients was looking for her next CFO role. And she is an unusual CFO. So if you're unusual in your field in some way that's brandable, we want to do something with that. Her case, she's not just an extrovert. And if you know any CFOs, they're usually not extroverts. She's a charismatic being. So, and she really wanted to be in a credit union where the leadership team, including the CFO, was focused on strategic and collaborative efforts. So, her headline, charismatic CFO leader with a strategic and collaborative mindset. That headline got her the job that retired her husband. Seriously. Okay. Your headline is SEO real estate. You want to use all 220 characters wisely. You want to incorporate your superpower cocktail. You want to keep in mind the first two words are what people see when you're interacting on LinkedIn, which you're going to be doing, because that's going to be part of your homework. Okay. Ready for the second mistake? Second mistake is turning your about section, which is such valuable property, into an extension of your resume. It's not a resume. Actually, your experience section is the resume part. The about section needs to be a story, and it needs to have impact. The about section is your why. Nobody has an attention span, by the way, ADHD or no. So we want super short paragraphs, a story that grabs attention and shows you more than bullet points. Your experience section is the what and the how. It's the results language, the strong active verb measurable result of a resume. Same stuff. And no, I don't want to hear you tell me that you want to get people to read your resume, so you don't want to have that in your LinkedIn. No, your goal is to get a job that moves you forward in your career. Your goal is not to have people read your resume. So it's not only totally fine, you're going to make sure that your experience section on your LinkedIn profile is the bullets, the 3 or 5 bullets, depending on how many you have for that role. Strong active verb measurable result. It is not a list of responsibilities. It's a list of results. Let me say that one more time for those who weren't paying attention. Your resume and your experience section on LinkedIn are not about responsibilities. They're about results. Okay. The about section is not a what and how like your experience section. The about section is a why and maybe a who. So it's going to walk through any pivots, especially pivots that are going to be confusing to people. If you've been in one kind of tech and you want to move into another, if you made a change role-wise, focus-wise, industry-wise, we want to talk about that. And then we're going to add a little secret sauce. At the end, you're going to talk about who you are. People hire people they like. Maybe that's not really what they should be doing when they're hiring, but hiring is done by humans, and humans do human things. They like to hire people they like. So we're going to do something at the end of your about section. We're going to talk about who you are when you're not working. Here's what mine says. When I'm not coaching my amazing clients, I am keeping score at baseball games, singing classical choral soprano, hosting one of my fabulous dinner salons. After 20 years of salons in San Francisco, I now host them in Music City with a tech meets music theme. Every client I work with ends their about section telling a little bit about who they are. Now notice my who they are. I grabbed the athletes. I kept score at baseball games since I was 12 years old. The smartest person I've ever interviewed when it came to interview strategy got on the call, and their first question to me was, what was the best game you ever kept score for? I was blown away. Nobody's ever asked me that question before. And by the way, the answer to that question is the only game I've kept score for that I didn't attend in person. And it was Cal Ripken's last All-Star game. So now you know. Okay, so I've got the athletes. Now, there are plenty of people, the people who aren't sports fans out there, right? So how do I grab them? How do I actually connect with them? Well, what about the artists and musicians out there? Some of them are not sports fans. So I've got singing classical choral soprano. I was at a tech meetup last night, met somebody who's a classically trained violinist and pianist. That's the way we roll here in Music City. Anyway, classical choral soprano. So now my artists and musicians are like, yeah, I like her. And then for that small percentage of the population that hates sports, art, and music, I'm going to feed you. It works. Okay. So when you do your three things, don't make them bland and meh. Make them interesting, real and interesting, and make sure that they tap into different aspects, different components of who you are, so different kinds of people can feel connected. Now, your volunteer section is another place to feature your likability. I want to keep in mind that this is a branding thing, and I really should have kind of started with this. This is your resume on steroids. So we have the resume stuff, the what and the how, the results focused in the experience section. But everything else is about branding you as a whole person. So we want to do that volunteer section, and because that's part of who you are as a human. And then there's the featured section for featured content. So even if writing content or doing video content isn't part of your strategy long-term, and quite frankly, if you're not in an active job search and you are plotting an executive long game career, you do need to be creating content. We need to build that strategy and we need to talk. But because that's why I do my executive long game coaching program. But even if you're not going to be creating content right now, you definitely want to make the most of that featured section in LinkedIn. That's super important. You can highlight things that are about what you bring to the table, some of your wins, some of the most amazing things. Now, our next piece is LinkedIn superpower. And this is mistake number 3, ignoring LinkedIn superpower. LinkedIn superpower is network building. Now, LinkedIn's primary original customer was the recruiter. And as I've told you, when I worked with all those venture-backed tech startups, building their talent strategy, coaching their executives, recruiting their executives, I also trained early career recruiters, some of whom I'm very proud to say have gone on to having amazing recruiting careers, on how to find hard to find talent on LinkedIn. So yes, LinkedIn's customers may be recruiters, but LinkedIn's superpower for job seekers isn't access to recruiters. It is access to a network. Before your job search starts, and if you didn't do it before, then you're going to get around to it now. Grow your network on LinkedIn. It is a visual map of who you know knows. Who the people you know. This is a better way to say that. Okay, so first of all, live events. People, we have live events again. Go to them. Go be with other humans. Meet them. And before you leave, connect with them on LinkedIn. And don't let them tell you they're going to do it. You do it. You want to be in charge of the follow-up. Use the QR code feature or just look them up if you prefer it. Whatever. Just do it. Second network builder. Identify people who are thought leaders in your space. Block time on your calendar a couple times a week. You only need 2 times a week. Go to their posts, engage with comments, create comments, and if you can't come up with a comment, emoji. Remember that when you comment, the first words of your headline are what people are going to see. They'll have to click to see more. So we really want to be very thoughtful about what those first 2 words are, like my ADHD coach. Next, when you're in there engaging with the thought leaders' posts, find other people who are commenting and connect with them. That is game changing. LinkedIn also makes it really easy for you to be a good human. Do you hear the theme here about humanness? Support your network. LinkedIn's notifications feed is going to give you work anniversaries to recognize, birthdays to recognize, when your connections are posting content, so you can engage with their content and make intros for jobs or clients for job seekers and sales folks. Be a good human, help other humans. Because if you're not job hunting now, when you are, you're going to be asking for those intros. Karma's a thing. Be a good human. And most importantly, have conversations in the comments, in the DMs. Once again, be a good human. Build your network before you need it. Engagement boosts visibility. This is how you stay top of mind. So we want to make sure your profile is optimized. We've activated your network and you're showing up consistently. Let's break these down so you can implement them today. And I am going to give you homework. The old teacher loves to give homework. If you've ever seen me live do a training, you know that I always give homework. We want to make sure from the top of your profile that we have everything dialed in. Your photo, your background image, your headline, your about section, your experience. I didn't talk about skills. Let's talk about skills. So there's this feature on LinkedIn that will tie your skills to your experience, to specific jobs you've had. Don't do it. You do want to have the skills section filled out. You want to make sure the top 2 to 3 skills are the ones most relevant to your next job, because they're the only ones visible without clicking, and people are busy and people are lazy. Know that even though we're focused on the network here and the branding more than we are the recruiters, when recruiters are looking to fill jobs, which if their company doesn't have a big brand or you're a hard to fit thing, they are looking. The only things that show are the first 2 to 3, but all the words in the skills section are part of their search ability and the cool tools that the recruiters use to search for people. So you want all the skills that are relevant, but the top 2 to 3 for your next job need to be on top. Don't connect to your experience section. Here's why. If you've done what I've told you to do, if you've listened to Coach Wendy, and you're on the nice list and not the naughty list, you already have crafted strong results focused, strong active verb, measurable result bullets in your experience section, because that's how you roll, because that's what people need to know. If you add the skills in, some of those words aren't nearly as strong as your results. Some of them are just fluff nonsense words. And even the ones that aren't, they're not as strong as your results stories. And then they junk up the experience section and distract and detract from your results. So just don't do it. Okay. So headline about the photos. Your background image is reinforcing who you are as a human, your profile photo. And let's talk about AI for a minute. So I get that you may not have had time or budget to have a professional headshot done recently. The last professional headshot I had done was 2 years ago this week. I was a different human 2 years ago this week. 4 months after that picture was taken, my husband died. In the 2 years since that picture was taken, I've lost 40 pounds. And I am not the same person, and not just because of the weight, and not just because of losing the husband. I am not the same person that I was 2 years ago. I'm not going to use that headshot. But really going and having my hair done and the makeup done and the new wardrobe and the professional headshots, all of that, I'm too busy helping people, creating a new life, getting ready for auditions. That's what I'm focused on. Hosting my dinner salons. So, but all the AI stuff, so many of the people I knew that used AI for headshots, it made them look, 50 pounds thinner or 20 years younger. They didn't look like themselves. So just be careful. Make sure you use something that makes you look like you had your hair done, your makeup done. Somebody picked out some good clothes for you to wear that were on brand for your industry, your kind of work. Make sure it looks like that. If you want to know what I used, send me a DM. I'll get you the details. Because it was game changing. So we want to make sure you have a professional profile shot and not one that makes you not look like you or way younger than you or way skinnier you, but looks like you dressed up for a photo shoot. And by the way, when I say dressed up, super formal isn't necessary these days. It really depends on what field you're in and what is appropriate for your level, your role, your industry. Very, very unique from person to person. Okay, so we got the profile shot, we got the background shot, we have the headline, we have the about section, we have the experience section, we have the volunteering section, we have the featured section, and we've got the skill section. We're focused on impact in our about section, results in our experience section. Remember, you're optimizing to build a brand that supports your network growth. And know that if you're sending somebody a connection request, this is your first impression if you haven't met them in real life. And if you have, it's your second impression. Do it right. Now let's talk a little bit about network building strategy. So we want to chunk this down. I'm all about efficient and effective. Can you tell that I ran operations for that fintech startup? Efficient, effective, systemic, rinse and repeat, process improvement, all my favorite words. You want to set aside short periods of time twice a week to do the commenting on thought leaders' posts and interacting with your network. You want to make sure you're reconnecting with existing connections, 5 to 10 of them a week. Make sure you're adding new connections, 5 to 10 of them a week. As I've mentioned before, be a good human, message former bosses and peers, recognize their birthdays, their work anniversaries, engage with their content. You engage with my content, you make my life better. You get my content in front of more people when you engage with my content. And when my content gets in front of more people, those people see it. They don't feel alone anymore with their ADHD, with building their executive careers, or with their job searches. And when they don't feel alone anymore, better things happen. And then when their back's against the wall and they need help, they're like, I've been watching that Wendy Taylor lady for 2 years. And you know what? I need her. That's what you do when you engage with my content. Think about what you're doing for all the other people that you're engaging with their content. I talk about thought leaders. Obviously, if leaders at your target companies, and you should have target companies, are creating content, you want to be following, you want to be engaging. Don't wait until you're in crisis. Opportunities come through people. Be a good human and use this amazing tool to strengthen your relationships with other humans. You're going to show up weekly, but just that little 2 times a week little session. If you're going to post, you only need to post once a week. Really. Visibility does equal opportunity. Human connection is more powerful than anything, and small weekly actions do pay off. Now, if you want, me to audit your profile, drop an audit in the comments or DM me, and we'll do a LinkedIn profile audit and strategy call. If you want this done with you, not just by you, I've opened up a few spots for profile upgrades. DM me today, Friday, May the 9th, and you'll get $50 off my LinkedIn and resume upgrade done with you package. Let's make sure your job search ready, whether you've activated the job search or not. And just so you know, if you don't know what you want next, you're actually not ready to work on your LinkedIn profile. If you want help figuring out what's next because you don't know what that is, then you aren't ready to work on your LinkedIn profile with me yet. Drop a calendar in the comments or DM me and we will schedule a call because we need to figure that out first. And yes, my name is Wendy, and I help people figure out who they want to be when they grow up, whether they're 25 or 65. Start before you need it. Your LinkedIn profile is your security system. Start optimizing it now so you never have to start from zero again. Have a wonderful rest of your day.